Berlin. December 1944. The war room in the Bendler block smells of stale coffee, cigarette smoke, and something else, something harder to name. Desperation, perhaps. Or the particular odor of men who no longer sleep properly, who shave less carefully, who have stopped looking each other directly in the eye. Oberst Heinrich Voss stands at a wooden table covered in maps. He is 43 years old. His uniform is pressed. His hands are steady. To anyone watching, he appears to be doing exactly what a senior intelligence officer in the Oberkommando der Wehrmacht should be doing, analyzing reports, cross-referencing supply data, preparing assessments for his superiors. But Heinrich Voss is not doing his job. He is watching his job become impossible. The numbers on the page before him tell a story that no one in this building wants to hear. Soviet tank production, 29,000 units in 1944 alone. American industrial output, beyond calculation. German fuel reserves, critically depleted. Replacement soldiers, increasingly boys and old men. The mathematics are simple. Brutal. Undeniable. Voss has spent 22 years in military intelligence. He knows how to read patterns. He knows how to separate propaganda from reality. He knows how to calculate the distance between what men say and what is actually true. And right now, sitting in this room with winter light filtering through windows reinforced with tape against bomb blasts, Heinrich Voss knows with absolute certainty that Germany will lose this war. Not might lose. Not could lose if circumstances change. Will lose. The certainty sits in his chest like a stone. He looks around the room. Major Dietrich is on the telephone, speaking in the clipped, confident tones of a man reporting good news that doesn't exist. Hauptmann Keller is updating casualty figures, carefully adjusting numbers to make them more presentable for the afternoon briefing. Everyone is performing their role in a theater that has forgotten it's a theater. Voss turns back to his report. He has been asked to provide an intelligence assessment of the upcoming Ardennes offensive, the massive counterattack plan for the Western Front. The Führer himself has ordered it. It will be Germany's last great gamble: throw everything at the Americans, split their lines, recapture Antwerp, force a negotiated peace in the West. On paper, it's audacious. Brilliant, even. In reality, it's suicide. Voss has done the calculations 3 times. He has checked his sources. He has verified every number. The offensive will achieve surprise, that much is likely. It might even achieve initial success. But it cannot be sustained. There isn't enough fuel. There aren't enough reserves. The Americans will recover, regroup, and crush the attack. And when they do, Germany will have spent its last reserves on a gamble that was always going to fail. He should write this in his report. He should state it clearly: the proposed offensive, while tactically sound in concept, cannot achieve strategic objectives given current resource constraints and enemy capabilities. He should tell the truth. His pen hovers over the paper. Outside, the afternoon is gray. Berlin in December is always gray: the sky, the buildings, the faces of people in the streets. But this year, the grayness feels different. Heavier. More permanent. Voss thinks about his daughter, Anna. She is 17 now, working in a munitions factory in the eastern suburbs. He hasn't seen her in 3 months. His wife, Margarethe, writes letters that arrive irregularly, always cheerful, always careful. She never says what she's really thinking. None of them do anymore. He looks at the report again. If he writes the truth, it will go up the chain of command. It will be read, summarized, perhaps even presented at a high-level briefing. And then it will be dismissed. Or worse, he will be dismissed. Transferred. Investigated. In late 1944, pessimism is indistinguishable from defeatism. Defeatism is indistinguishable from treason. And even if, by some miracle, his report were taken seriously, what then? Would it stop the offensive? Would it change anything? The decision has already been made. The machinery is already in motion. The Führer has spoken. Heinrich Voss has spent his entire career believing that intelligence matters. That facts matter. That if you present the truth clearly enough, decisions will follow. He no longer believes this. He sets down his pen. He picks up the pages he has written, 3 pages of careful analysis, supported by data, footnoted with sources. He reads them once more. They are good. Professional. Accurate. Useless. He walks to the small iron stove in the corner of the room. It's burning low, coal is ration now, even here. He opens the door. The heat touches his face. He feeds the pages into the fire. They curl, blacken, disappear. Major Dietrich looks up from his telephone call. Voss? Everything all right? Fine, Voss says. Just disposing of a draft. He returns to his desk. He takes out fresh paper. He begins to write a new report, one that acknowledges challenges but expresses cautious optimism. One that uses phrases like acceptable risk and potential for success given proper execution. One that will be read, filed, and forgotten. One that says nothing true. As he writes, Heinrich Voss feels something shift inside him. Not dramatically. Not like a breaking. More like a door closing quietly in an empty house. He has just made a choice. He has chosen silence. The Ardennes offensive begins on December 16th. For 3 days, it works. Reports flood into the Bendler block, American lines broken, thousands of prisoners taken, panic spreading through enemy ranks. In the war room, there is something like joy. Officers smile. Handshakes are exchanged. Someone opens a bottle of schnapps that has been saved for a special occasion. Voss reads the reports carefully. He sees the initial success. He also sees what's missing: fuel consumption rates higher than projected, resupply columns delayed by weather, American reinforcements moving faster than anticipated. He says nothing. By December 22nd, the weather clears. American aircraft fill the skies. German columns, exposed on frozen roads, are torn apart from above. The advance stalls. Then stops. Then begins to retreat. By January, it's over. 50,000 German casualties. Irreplaceable losses in men, tanks, fuel, ammunition. The last reserves of the Wehrmacht, spent on an offensive that gained nothing and lost everything. Voss had known this would happen. He had known it in December, sitting at his desk, burning his report. No one asks him why he didn't warn them. Because he did warn them, in the careful, coded language that everyone understands means nothing. He wrote a report that could be read as supportive. He performed his duty. He stayed silent in the only way that matters. In late January, he is called to a meeting. The room is smaller than usual. Only 5 officers present. The mood is different, not defeated, exactly, but something colder. More realistic. These are men who have stopped pretending, at least to each other. General Major Steiner speaks first. He is older than Voss, gray-haired, with the careful diction of someone who has learned to weigh every word. Gentlemen, Steiner says, we need an honest assessment of the Eastern Front. Not for publication. Not for official record. Just honest. The other officers glance at each other. Voss realizes what this is, a room where truth is allowed, precisely because it will never leave the room. He speaks carefully. The Red Army will reach the Oder by February. Berlin by April, possibly sooner. We lack the reserves to stop them. We lack the fuel to maneuver. We lack the air cover to protect retreating columns. Silence. Hauptmann Werner, a younger officer with a nervous habit of adjusting his glasses, says quietly, "Can we hold them at the Oder?" "No," Voss says. "Can we negotiate?" "With whom?" Voss asks. The Soviets want unconditional surrender. The British and Americans have agreed to the same. There is no one to negotiate with. Another silence. Longer this time. Steiner nods slowly. Thank you, Oberst. That will be all. As Voss leaves, Steiner calls after him. Heinrich. Voss turns. This conversation did not happen. Of course not, Herr General Major. Voss walks back to his office. The hallways of the Bendler block are busy, officers moving with purpose, secretaries carrying files, telephones ringing. The machinery of command continues to function. Reports are written. Orders are issued. The war goes on. But Heinrich Voss now understands something fundamental: the war is being fought in two different realities. In one reality, the official one, the one in briefings and communiques, Germany is still fighting. Strategies are being developed. Victories are still possible. The Führer's genius will prevail. In the other reality, the one in small rooms with 5 officers, the one in midnight conversations, the one in Heinrich Voss's mind, Germany has already lost. The only question is how long the dying will take. And he, Oberst Heinrich Voss, senior intelligence officer, has become a translator between these two realities. He writes reports that belong to the first reality while living in the second. He speaks in the language of the possible while knowing the inevitable. He has become an expert in silence. February 1945. Voss sits in his apartment in Charlottenburg. It is evening. The electricity is out, it's out more often than not these days. He lights a candle. The flame casts shadows that move across the walls like something alive. He has paper in front of him. A pen. He has been sitting here for an hour. He is trying to write a letter to his daughter. Dear Anna. He stops. What does he want to say? I hope you are well. I hope the factory is not too difficult. I hope you are eating enough. Useless pleasantries. The kind of thing everyone writes because no one can write what they actually mean. He tries again. Dear Anna. I want you to know that I love you. I want you to know that everything I have done believing it was right. I want you to know that I am proud of you. Better. But still not what he needs to say. He sets down the pen. He looks at the candle flame. What he wants to write is this. Dear Anna. The war is lost. It has been lost for months, perhaps years. I have known this. I have said nothing. I have written reports that obscure the truth. I have attended meetings where lies are spoken aloud and no one objects. I have watched young men, boys, really, younger than you, sent to die in battles that cannot be won, for objectives that no longer matter, in service of a cause that is already dead. I have done this because I am a coward. Or because I am practical. Or because I no longer know the difference. I want you to understand something: silence is not neutral. Silence is a choice. Every day I say nothing, I am choosing. I am choosing to let the machinery continue. I am choosing to let the dying continue. I am choosing my own survival over the truth. I don't know if this makes me complicit. I don't know if there was ever a moment when speaking would have mattered. I don't know if one man's voice could have changed anything. But I know I didn't try. I am writing this so that someday, if you ask yourself what your father did during the war, you will know, he knew the truth, and he stayed silent. I hope you can forgive me. I am not sure I can forgive myself. Your father. He doesn't write any of this. Instead, he writes, Dear Anna, I hope this letter finds you well. Work here continues. I think of you often. Stay strong. Your loving father. He folds the letter. He will mail it tomorrow. The candle burns lower. Outside, in the distance, he hears the air raid sirens begin their nightly wail. Berlin, February 1945. The city is eating itself. Not quickly. Not dramatically. But steadily, methodically, like a body consuming its own muscle when there is no other fuel left. Voss walks to work each morning through streets that look less like a capital and more like a stage set of a capital, the facade still standing, but nothing behind it. Buildings with their fronts intact and their backs blown open. Shops with signs still hanging but nothing inside. People moving with purpose toward jobs that no longer serve any purpose except to maintain the fiction that there is still something to do. The Bendler block itself has become a strange organism. Half the offices are empty, officers transferred, killed, or simply vanished. The remaining staff works longer hours, producing more reports, as if volume can substitute for relevance. Voss arrives at 0700 each morning. His office is on the 3rd floor, a small room with a window that faces east. He can see the sky from here. On clear days, he can sometimes see the smoke from fires in the eastern suburbs, where the Red Army's artillery is getting closer. His work has changed. In 1943, he was analyzing enemy capabilities, predicting Soviet movements, providing intelligence that shaped operational decisions. In 1945, he is writing reports that no one reads, attending briefings where no one listens, maintaining a bureaucratic fiction that intelligence still matters. But he does it carefully. Professionally. Because that is what you do. Because stopping would require a decision, and decisions are dangerous. This morning, there is a new directive on his desk. All intelligence assessments must emphasize enemy weaknesses and German strengths. Focus on opportunities for counterattack. Avoid defeatist language. Voss reads it twice. It is signed by General Oberst Jodl himself. He understands what it means: stop telling us things we don't want to hear. He files the directive carefully. Then he begins his morning routine, reading overnight reports from the Eastern Front, cross-referencing them with previous data, identifying patterns. The pattern today is the same as yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. The Red Army is advancing. Slowly in some sectors, quickly in others, but always advancing. German forces are retreating, regrouping, retreating again. The line is collapsing. Voss writes his report. He uses careful language, tactical withdrawals, consolidation of positions, preparation for counteroffensive operations. He does not write, "We are losing." He does not write, "There is no counteroffensive." He does not write, "This will be over in weeks." He writes what is expected. At 1000 hours, there is a staff meeting. 12 officers gather in a conference room. Major Dietrich presents the morning intelligence summary. He speaks confidently, using a pointer to indicate positions on a large map of the Eastern Front. Enemy forces have advanced here, and here, Dietrich says, tapping the map. However, these advances are overextended. Supply lines are vulnerable. We anticipate opportunities for localized counterattacks within the next 72 hours. Voss watches the other officers. Some are taking notes. Some are nodding. No one asks the obvious question: with what forces? Using what fuel? Supported by what air cover? No one asks because everyone knows the answer. The meeting continues. Reports are given. Assessments are made. Everything is discussed except the one thing that matters: we are going to lose. Voss says nothing. After the meeting, he returns to his office. There is a new stack of reports waiting for him. He begins to read. One report catches his attention: casualty figures from a regiment defending the Oder River line. The numbers are catastrophic. 70% losses in 3 days. The regiment has been pulled back, reconstituted with replacements, boys from the Hitler Youth, men in their 50s pulled from reserved occupations. Voss knows what this means. He has seen it before. A regiment is destroyed, then rebuilt with untrained soldiers, then destroyed again. The name continues. The unit designation continues. But it's not the same regiment. It's a ghost wearing the uniform of the dead. He writes a brief summary of the report. He uses neutral language. He does not write, "We are sending children to die." He does not write, "This is murder disguised as military necessity." He writes what is expected. The day continues. At 1400 hours, the air raid sirens sound. Everyone moves to the basement shelters, a routine so familiar now that it requires no thought. Voss sits on a wooden bench next to Hauptmann Keller. They wait in silence. The building shakes. Dust falls from the ceiling. After 20 minutes, the all-clear sounds. They return to their offices. At 1,700 hours, Voss finishes his daily report. He places it in the outgoing box. It will be typed, copied, distributed. Someone will read it. Someone will file it. It will change nothing. He puts on his coat. He walks home through streets lit by fires. This is his life now, a routine of irrelevance, performed with precision. March 1945. The Red Army reaches the Oder River. They are now 50 kilometers from Berlin. In the Bendler block, the mood shifts. Not to panic, panic would require acknowledging reality. Instead, there is a strange intensification of routine. More meetings. More reports. More directives. As if bureaucracy itself can hold back the tide. Voss is working late one evening when there is a knock on his door. "Come in." A young officer enters. Lieutenant Fischer. Early 20s, thin, with the kind of face that still looks like it belongs in a university classroom rather than a uniform. He is holding a folder. "Oberst Voss? I was told to deliver this to you." "Thank you, Lieutenant." Fischer hands over the folder but doesn't leave. He hesitates in the doorway. "Is there something else?" Voss asks. May I ask you a question, Herr Oberst?" Voss looks at him. The young man's hands are shaking slightly. "Close the door," Voss says. Fischer closes the door. He stands at attention. "Sit down, Lieutenant." Fischer sits. He looks uncomfortable, like someone who has rehearsed this moment many times but now can't remember his lines. "What's your question?" Voss asks. Fischer takes a breath. "Herr Oberst, I've been reading the intelligence reports. All of them. I've been trying to understand the situation. And I don't understand how we can." He stops. "How we can what?" Voss asks quietly. "How we can win," Fischer says. The words come out in a rush. The numbers don't make sense. The Soviets have too many tanks, too many men, too much of everything. And we're running out of everything. I've read the fuel reports. The ammunition reports. The replacement reports. I don't see how we can possibly." He stops again. He looks terrified. Voss understands. This young officer has just committed the unforgivable sin. He has done the math. "Lieutenant Fischer," Voss says carefully, "what exactly are you asking me?" Fischer meets his eyes. "Are we going to lose this war?" The question hangs in the air between them. Voss could answer in many ways. He could deflect. He could give the official line. He could remind Fischer that such questions border on defeatism. He could protect himself. Instead, he asks, "What do you think?" "I think." Fischer's voice drops to almost a whisper. "I think we've already lost. I think we lost months ago. Maybe years ago. I think everything we're doing now is just pretending." Silence. Voss looks at this young man, this boy, really, who has just spoken aloud the thing that no one is allowed to say. "Why are you telling me this?" Voss asks. "Because I don't know what to do," Fischer says. His voice cracks slightly. "I write reports. I attend briefings. I do my job. But none of it matters, does it? None of it changes anything. And I don't know if I'm supposed to keep pretending, or if I'm supposed to do something, or what I'm supposed to do." Voss recognizes the look in Fischer's eyes. He has seen it in the mirror. "What do you want me to tell you?" Voss asks. "The truth," Fischer says. "Just the truth." Voss considers this. He could tell Fischer the truth. He could confirm what the young man already knows. He could say, "Yes, we have lost. Yes, it's over. Yes, everything we're doing is theater." And then what? What would change? Fisher would still write his reports. Voss would still write his. The war would still continue. The dying would still continue. The only difference would be that two men would share the burden of knowing, instead of each carrying it alone. Is that better? Or worse? Voss makes a decision. "Lieutenant Fisher," he says, his voice formal now, "you are a junior intelligence officer. Your job is to collect data, analyze it, and present it to your superiors. You are not responsible for strategic decisions. You are not responsible for outcomes. You do your job to the best of your ability, and you trust that those above you are making decisions based on information you cannot access." Fisher's face falls. He understands what Voss is doing. "Do you understand?" Voss asks. "Yes, Herr Oberst." "Good. Is there anything else?" "No, Herr Oberst." Dismissed. Fisher stands. He salutes. He leaves. Voss sits alone in his office. He has just done to Fisher what was done to him. He has taught a young officer how to stay silent. He tells himself it was the right thing to do. He tells himself there was no other choice. He tells himself that protecting Fisher from the truth is a kindness. He doesn't believe any of this. But he has become very good at not believing things. April 1945. The Red Army is in the eastern suburbs of Berlin. The sound of artillery is constant now, a low thunder that never stops, like the city itself is breathing. At night, the sky glows red. During the day, smoke obscures the sun. The Bendler block is half empty. Many officers have been transferred to field commands, a polite way of saying they've been sent to die. Others have simply disappeared. No one asks where they've gone. Voss still comes to work each day. He no longer knows why. His reports are not read. His assessments are not used. The intelligence apparatus of the Wehrmacht has become a cargo cult, performing rituals that once had meaning but now serve only to maintain the appearance of function. Still, he comes. He sits at his desk. He writes. One morning, he receives a new assignment: prepare an intelligence assessment for the defense of central Berlin. He reads the order twice. It is insane. Central Berlin cannot be defended. There are no reserves. No fuel. No ammunition. No air support. The Red Army has overwhelming superiority in every category. Defending Berlin will not change the outcome of the war. It will only increase the casualties. It will only prolong the suffering. Voss knows this. Everyone knows this. But he has been ordered to prepare an assessment. He begins to work. He gathers data, remaining troop strengths, ammunition stockpiles, defensive positions. He creates maps, charts, projections. He writes clearly, professionally, thoroughly. And as he writes, Heinrich Voss realizes something. He is writing instructions for how to kill more people in a war that is already lost. Every word he writes, every assessment he makes, every defensive position he identifies, all of it will be used to prolong a battle that cannot be won. Young men will die following plans that he is helping to create. Civilians will die in buildings that he is marking as defensive strongpoints. He is not just staying silent anymore. He is actively participating. He stops writing. He looks at the pages in front of him. Neat. Organized. Professional. Monstrous. He could stop. He could refuse. He could say, "No, I will not do this." And then what? He would be arrested. Or shot. Or simply replaced by someone who would write the same report without hesitation. Nothing would change. Except that he would have made a choice. He would have drawn a line. He would have said, "This far, and no further." Voss sits at his desk for a long time. Then he picks up his pen. He finishes the report. He tells himself, one man cannot change this. One man's refusal will not stop the battle. One man's silence or speech, it makes no difference. He tells himself this. He does not believe it. but he has become very good at not believing things. He completes the report. He places it in the outgoing box. That night, he walks home through streets that are being torn apart by artillery. Buildings collapse. Fires burn. People run, or hide, or simply sit in the rubble, too exhausted to move. Voss walks through it all. He reaches his apartment. The building is still standing, though several windows are blown out. He climbs the stairs. He enters his empty apartment. Margarethe and Anna were evacuated weeks ago, to where he doesn't know. He sits in the dark. He thinks about Lieutenant Fischer. He wonders if the young man is still alive. He wonders if Fischer hates him for not telling the truth. He wonders if Fischer understands that the truth would have changed nothing. He thinks about all the reports he has written. All the assessments. All the careful, professional, accurate analyses that have been used to prolong a war that should have ended months ago. He thinks about the moment in December when he burned his first report. The moment he chose silence. He wonders if that was the moment everything changed. Or if there were 1,000 such moments, each one small, each one seemingly insignificant, each one a tiny step toward this, sitting alone in a dark apartment in a dying city, knowing that he helped build the machinery of his own destruction. Outside, the artillery continues. Inside, Heinrich Voss sits in silence. It is the only thing he has left. April 20th, 1945. The Führer's birthday. In previous years, this would have been a day of celebration, parades, speeches, ceremonies. In 1945, it is marked by the sound of Soviet artillery getting closer. The Bendler block is mostly abandoned now. The OKW has relocated to a bunker complex. Most staff have been evacuated, reassigned, or killed. The building stands like a monument to something that no longer exists. Voss is still here. He is one of perhaps 20 officers remaining, maintaining a skeleton staff for reasons no one can quite articulate. They arrive each morning, sit at their desks, shuffle papers, and leave in the evening. It is a performance of normalcy in a situation that has become completely abnormal. Today, Voss receives no new assignments. There are no reports to write. No briefings to attend. The machinery has finally stopped. He sits at his desk and looks out the window. The sky is gray. Smoke rises from a dozen different directions. He can hear small arms fire now, not just artillery. The fighting is in the streets. He opens his desk drawer. Inside is a pistol, a Walther P38, standard officer issue. He has carried it for years and never fired it. He looks at it for a long moment, then closes the drawer. Not yet. At noon, Major Dietrich appears in his doorway. Dietrich looks like he hasn't slept in days. His uniform is dirty. His eyes are hollow. "Voss," he says. "We're evacuating. Final orders. Everyone to the Führer bunker complex or to field units. Your choice." "When?" Voss asks. "Now. Within the hour." Voss nods. "Where will you go?" "West," Dietrich says. "Try to reach American lines." "You?" "I don't know." Dietrich looks at him for a moment. Then he says, quietly, "We should have surrendered months ago." It is the first time Voss has heard anyone say it aloud. "Yes," Voss says. "We should have. Why didn't we?" Voss has no answer. Dietrich nods, as if he expected this. "Good luck, Heinrich." "Good luck." Dietrich leaves. Voss sits alone in his office. He should pack. He should decide where to go. He should do something. Instead, he takes out a piece of paper. He writes, "To whoever finds this. My name is Oberst Heinrich Voss. I served in the intelligence section of the Oberkommando der Wehrmacht. I knew the war was lost in December 1944. I said nothing. I wrote reports that obscured the truth. I participated in the machinery that prolonged this war and increased its casualties. I do not ask for forgiveness. I do not offer excuses. I write this only so that there is a record. I knew, and I stayed silent. This is what I did. He signs it. He places it in his desk drawer, next to the pistol. Then he puts on his coat and leaves. Voss does not go to the Führer bunker. He does not try to reach American lines. Instead, he goes home. His apartment building has taken a direct hit. The top 3 floors are gone. His floor, the second, is damaged but partially intact. He climbs the stairs carefully, testing each step. His apartment door is blown off its hinges. Inside, everything is covered in dust and plaster. The windows are gone. The furniture is overturned. But the walls are still standing. He sits on the floor. He has nowhere else to go. Over the next 3 days, the battle for Berlin intensifies. The sound of fighting is everywhere: gunfire, explosions, the grinding of tank treads on pavement. Voss stays in his apartment, moving to the basement when the shelling gets too close. He is not alone. Other residents of the building are sheltering here: an elderly couple from the first floor, a woman with 2 young children, a teenage boy who claims to be a deserter from a Volkssturm unit. They do not talk much. They share what little food they have. They wait. On the 3rd day, the woman with the children asks Voss, "When will it be over?" "Soon," he says. "Will the Russians kill us?" "I don't know." The woman nods. She has stopped expecting reassurance. That night, Voss dreams. He is back in the Bendler block, sitting at his desk. He is writing a report. The words flow easily, clearly. He is telling the truth, all of it. The war is lost. The casualties are meaningless. The leadership is delusional. He writes it all, and as he writes, he feels a tremendous relief, as if a weight is lifting from his chest. Then he looks up. The office is empty. The building is empty. There is no one to read his report. There never was. He wakes in the dark basement, breathing hard. April 25, 1945. The shooting stops. Not everywhere. Not all at once. But in this neighborhood, in this street, the guns fall silent. Voss and the others wait in the basement. They hear voices outside, Russian voices. The elderly man says, "Should we go out?" "Not yet," Voss says. They wait. After an hour, there is a sound at the basement entrance. Footsteps. A voice calling in broken German, "Come out. War is over. Come out." Slowly, they emerge. The street is unrecognizable. Buildings are collapsed. Rubble everywhere. Bodies, German soldiers, Russian soldiers, civilians, lie where they fell. The air smells of smoke and death. A group of Soviet soldiers stands in the street. They are young, dirty, exhausted. They look at the civilians emerging from the basement with a mixture of suspicion and indifference. One soldier, an officer, steps forward. He looks at Voss's uniform. Voss is still wearing it, though it's filthy now. "You are officer?" the Russian asks in halting German. "Yes," Voss says. "Wehrmacht?" "Yes." The Russian studies him. Then he says something in Russian to the other soldiers. They lower their weapons slightly. "War is over," the Russian officer says. "You are prisoner now. Understand?" "Yes," Voss says. "You have weapon?" Voss thinks of the pistol, still in his desk drawer in the apartment upstairs. "No," he says. The Russian nods. He gestures to the other civilians. "They can go. You come with us." Voss looks at the woman with the children. She is crying silently, holding her children close. He looks at the elderly couple, at the teenage boy. They are alive. For now, that is enough. He turns back to the Russian officer. "Where are you taking me?" "Prisoner collection point." "Then?" "I don't know. Not my decision." Voss nods. As the soldiers lead him away, the Russian officer walks beside him. After a moment, he says, "You are intelligence officer, yes? I see your insignia." "Yes," Voss says. "Then you knew," the Russian says. "You knew you would lose. It is not a question." Voss stops walking. The Russian stops too, watching him. And for the first time in months, perhaps years, Heinrich Voss tells the complete truth. "Yes," he says. "I knew." "When did you know?" "December. Maybe earlier." "And you said nothing?" "I said nothing." The Russian officer looks at him for a long moment. His expression is unreadable, not angry, not sympathetic, just tired. "Many men knew," the Russian says finally. "On both sides. Many men knew, and said nothing. This is how wars continue." He gestures for Voss to keep walking. They move through the ruined streets. Voss sees other prisoners, German soldiers, some wounded, some shell-shocked, all defeated. They are being gathered in a square, guarded by Soviet troops. As they walk, the Russian officer says, almost conversationally, "I am from Stalingrad. I was there, in 1942. We knew we would win. We knew it in November, when we closed the trap. But the Germans kept fighting. 4 months. They starved. They froze. They died. But they kept fighting. We asked ourselves, why? Why do they not surrender? Do they not know it is over?" He looks at Voss. "Now I understand," he says. "They knew. But knowing and speaking, these are different things." Voss says nothing. They reach the square. The Russian officer hands him over to another soldier, who pushes him toward the group of prisoners. Voss stands among them. He looks at their faces, young, old, terrified, blank. He wonders how many of them knew. He wonders how many of them stayed silent. He wonders if it matters. The prisoner collection point is a bombed-out school. Hundreds of German soldiers and officers are crowded into what remains of the building. There is no food. No water. No medical care. The guards are few and disinterested. They have one. This is just cleanup. Voss finds a corner and sits. His body aches. He is hungry, thirsty, exhausted. But more than anything, he is empty. The war is over. He has survived. He does not feel relief. He does not feel anything. A man sits down next to him. Older, maybe 60, wearing a torn Volkssturm uniform. His face is gray with dust and fatigue. "Your regular Wehrmacht?" the man asks. "Yes," Voss says. "Officer?" "Yes." The man nods. After a moment, he says, "I'm a schoolteacher." "Was a schoolteacher." "They gave me a uniform and a rifle and told me to defend the fatherland." He laughs, a dry, bitter sound. "I'm 62 years old. I hadn't fired a gun since 1918. But I went. Because what else could I do?" Voss says nothing. "Did you know?" the teacher asks. "That we would lose?" Voss turns to look at him. "Yes." "When?" "December." "And you said nothing?" "No." The teacher nods slowly. "I knew too. Not December. Earlier. Maybe 1943, after Stalingrad. Maybe even before. I knew. But I taught my classes. I told my students to be brave, to serve the fatherland, to believe in victory. I sent boys to war knowing they would die. Because what else could I do?" He looks at Voss. "We are the same, you and I," he says. "We knew the truth, and we spoke lies. We are the same." Voss wants to argue. He wants to say, "No, it's different. I'm a soldier. I was following orders. I had no choice." But he doesn't say this. Because it isn't true. He had a choice. In December, sitting at his desk, burning his report, that was a choice. Every day after that, writing reports that obscured the truth, those were choices. Every conversation where he stayed silent, those were choices. He chose safety over truth. Survival over honesty. Silence over speech. And now, sitting in a ruined school surrounded by the wreckage of a defeated army, Heinrich Voss understands the final arithmetic of his war. His silence did not save him. It did not save anyone. It only prolonged the dying. 3 days later, Voss is transferred to a larger prisoner camp outside Berlin. Thousands of men, packed into open fields, surrounded by barbed wire. The conditions are brutal. Men die daily from wounds, disease, exposure. Voss survives. He doesn't know why. He doesn't particularly want to. But his body continues to function, to eat the thin soup they are given, to sleep on the cold ground, to wake each morning. One morning, a Soviet officer comes through the camp. He is looking for intelligence officers, specialists, anyone with knowledge that might be useful. Voss identifies himself. He is taken to a tent. Inside, a Russian colonel sits behind a makeshift desk. An interpreter stands beside him. "You are intelligence officer?" the colonel asks through the interpreter. "Yes." "What was your position?" "Senior analyst, Oberkommando der Wehrmacht." The colonel's eyes sharpen. "You had access to strategic intelligence?" "Yes." "You will answer questions. If you cooperate, your treatment will improve. If you do not cooperate..." He shrugs. Voss understands. This is not a request. Over the next several days, he is interrogated. They ask about German troop dispositions, supply lines, remaining forces in other theaters. They ask about intelligence methods, sources, assessments. Voss answers truthfully. He tells them everything he knows. Not because he believes in their cause. Not because he has changed sides. But because the war is over, and the information no longer matters. The secrets he kept, the reports he wrote, the truth he obscured, all of it is obsolete now. He speaks, and as he speaks, he realizes, this is the first time in months that anyone has actually wanted to hear the truth. The irony is not lost on him. After a week of interrogations, the colonel says, "You have been cooperative. This is noted. You will be processed for repatriation when circumstances allow." "When will that be?" Voss asks. "Months. Perhaps years. Germany must be rebuilt. Denazification must occur. There are many prisoners. It will take time." Voss nods. He has nowhere to go anyway. His apartment is destroyed. His family, he doesn't know where they are, if they're alive. He has nothing to return to. "One question," the colonel says. "Personal curiosity." "Yes?" "You are an intelligent man. Educated. You had access to information. You must have known, yes? That Germany would lose?" Voss meets his eyes. "Yes. I knew." "When?" "December 1944. "Certainly by then." "Perhaps earlier." "And you said nothing?" "I said nothing." "Why?" It is the question Voss has been asking himself for months. He thinks about Lieutenant Fischer, asking for the truth. He thinks about the teacher in the schoolyard, sending boys to die. He thinks about all the small moments of silence, all the choices not to speak. "Because I believed it wouldn't matter," Voss says finally. "I believed that one man's voice could not change the course of events. I believed that speaking the truth would only endanger me without helping anyone else." And now, the colonel asks, "Do you still believe this?" Voss considers the question. He thinks about the reports he wrote, the assessments he made, the truth he obscured. He thinks about the battles that were fought based on plans he helped create. He thinks about the casualties, German, Russian, American, British, civilian. He thinks about the months the war continued after he knew it was lost. Could he have stopped it? Could one man's voice have mattered? He doesn't know. He will never know. But he knows this, he didn't try. No, Voss says quietly. I no longer believe that. The colonel nods. You are dismissed. Voss stands. He is about to leave when the colonel says, Oberst Voss. Voss turns. In war, the colonel says, there are many types of casualties. Men who die in battle. Men who die from wounds. Men who die from disease or starvation. But there's another type of casualty, men who survive, but lose something else. Something they cannot name. You understand? Voss understands. Yes, he says. I understand. He leaves the tent. Voss spends 8 months in the prisoner camp. In December 1945, he is released. Germany is occupied, divided, destroyed. Berlin is a city of ruins. He returns to find his apartment building partially collapsed. He searches for his family. After weeks, he learns, Margarethi died in an air raid in March. Anna survived. She is living with relatives in Bavaria. He travels to find her. When he sees her, thin, older than her years, but alive, he feels something break inside him. He embraces her. She cries. He does not. They do not talk about the war. Not then. Not for years. Voss finds work eventually. Germany needs to be rebuilt. There are jobs for men with organizational skills, men who can analyze, plan, coordinate. His past is not examined too closely. Many men have pasts that are not examined too closely. He works. He survives. He does not thrive. At night, he dreams. He is back in his office in the Bendler block. He is writing a report. He is burning a report. He is watching Lieutenant Fischer ask for the truth. He is sitting in the basement, listening to artillery. He is standing in the ruined street, telling the Russian officer, yes, I knew. The dreams do not stop. Years pass. Germany rebuilds. The economic miracle. New buildings rise where ruins stood. People stop talking about the war. It becomes impolite to ask what someone did between 1933 and 1945. Everyone was a victim. Everyone suffered. Everyone wants to forget. Voss does not forget. In 1963, Anna asks him, Papa, what did you do during the war? They are sitting in his small apartment in Munich. She is 35 now, married, with children of her own. She has never asked before. Voss looks at her. He thinks about all the things he could say. He could tell her he was just following orders. He could tell her he had no choice. He could tell her he did his best in impossible circumstances. He could tell her the comfortable lies that everyone tells. Instead, he tells her the truth. I knew we would lose, he says. I knew it months before the end. I said nothing. I wrote reports that helped prolong the war. I stayed silent when I should have spoken. Anna is quiet for a long time. Could you have stopped it? She asks finally. If you had spoken? I don't know, Voss says. Probably not. One man's voice, it probably wouldn't have mattered. Then why do you blame yourself? Because I didn't try, Voss says. I chose safety over truth. I chose silence over speech. And that choice, that was mine. No one forced me to make it. Anna reaches across the table. She takes his hand. I'm glad you survived, she says quietly. I'm not sure I did, Voss says. Heinrich Voss dies in 1971, at the age of 69. He is buried in a small cemetery in Munich. The funeral is attended by his daughter, his grandchildren, a few former colleagues. It is a quiet affair. No military honors. No speeches about service to the fatherland. After the funeral, Anna goes through his belongings. She finds, in a locked drawer, a folder containing documents from the war, his service record, some old reports, a few letters. And she finds something else, a single sheet of paper, written in her father's careful handwriting. It is dated April 20th, 1945. To whoever finds this, my name is Oberst Heinrich Voss. I served in the intelligence section of the Oberkommando der Wehrmacht. I knew the war was lost in December 1944. I said nothing. I wrote reports that obscured the truth. I participated in the machinery that prolonged this war and increased its casualties. I do not ask for forgiveness. I do not offer excuses. I write this only so that there is a record. I knew, and I stayed silent. This is what I did. Anna reads it 3 times. She thinks about her father, the quiet man who rarely smiled, who worked hard, who provided for his family, who never spoke about the war unless asked directly. She thinks about the weight he carried for 26 years. She thinks about the silence. And she understands, her father did not survive the war. Part of him died in December 1944, sitting at a desk in the Bendler block, burning a report. The man who came home in 1945 was someone else, someone hollowed out, someone carrying a weight that never lifted. She folds the paper carefully. She places it back in the drawer. She does not show it to anyone. Some silences, she understands, must be kept. But some must be remembered.